there are 4 pretty interesting games, so we should get onto it. It's kicking off what I think is a more intriguing clash than I might have expected a couple of weeks ago, given the relative trajectories of the two teams. We've got the Southern Derby kicking off the round, Otago taking on Canterbury down in Otago. Canterbury still, despite their loss last weekend opening, is 4.5-point favourites. They're $1.48 in the head-to-head market. Otago $2.50. Fisky, should Canterbury be favourites over anyone on the road the way they're playing at the moment?
Can we get some sort of alarm or alert when we get a false favourite? I can't see how Canterbury are favourites here. I think it's a false favourite game. I'll be gobsmacked if this doesn't jump 2 or 1. I think all the money will be on Otago, and not necessarily because Otago are in great form. You know, they were lucky to win at Northland, let's face it. But yeah, Canterbury, just I don't see any change, and they've changed their halves partnership. They had to do something. Yeah, I don't like the look of this Canterbury side. I think it's one-paced, and doesn't matter where you look. I think they're all solid players, but no one really taking the lead. I think they've moved Debrasini into the 10 jersey. You know, I think he's okay. They weren't liking what they were getting last week from their 10. So I think they've just sort of moved the deck chairs on the Titanic. I think it'll be another plodding effort. I don't think they're in line to get flogged, but I can't see them clearly better than Otago, particularly at Forsyth Bar.
Yeah, you'd have to say the value certainly in Otago. I personally just think Canterbury's still reeling from the loss of Brett Cameron. You know, he was keeping that ship together all along. As a local, are you hearing that from your contacts down in Canterbury, Rissy?
Yeah, they were just really below par last week, and very, very hard to sort of follow them in again this week. Southern Derby, plenty on the line, and never easy to play under the roof down there. So I was quite confident in them last week. I thought they were going to bounce back from that loss to Wellington, and when they hosted Hawke's Bay, but yeah, they played out of the park and looked stationary. Otago's hardly been setting the world on fire. They're coming off their win against Northland, which they were probably lucky to win in the end. But they managed to sort of give Taranaki a really good challenge at home a couple of weeks ago. So they'll take plenty from that. And yeah, I will not be back in the favour in that game.
And just with sort of how we touched on the way Hawke's Bay was scoring a lot of those tries last week, on a nice day down in Christchurch under the roof, Otago with the guys like Ioane and Karoi and some of those backs they do have the ability to spread the ball wide. And
how good was Ioane on Friday night? Just he had a couple of really nice touches there, and sort of his kicking probably won them the game in that game in the end. But he set up all 3 of the tries, or at least 2 of the 3 tries. So I mean, nice to see him playing with some confidence.
Yeah, it would be great to see him reach that level he got to a couple of years ago if he can get a bit more, and hopefully get some game time for the Chiefs as well. I think that pretty much we're all on the same page there. Are we going to be all on the same page in the next game? Because unlike the traditional pick and go ethos for this NPC season, I'm not having any of this underdog, even though they are Manawatu.
Nah.
Yeah.
It's hard to make a case for them, I think.
Yeah, how can you go against Taranaki in the form they're in? Doesn't matter if they're home or away, big favourites, outsiders, doesn't matter. They're winning, and they're winning well every week.
Yeah, maybe before last week's game, I think maybe I would have given Manawatu a little bit of a chance, but they sort of just were a bit, couldn't quite sort of get their A into G against Wellington last week. So it's hard to see Taranaki not running all over them this week, especially at home.
Yeah, on the road as well for Manawatu, Taranaki have a very good record in there, which is an underrated, spicy rivalry as well between these two provinces. A lot of sort of players go back and forth between one and the other. I just think I presume it's at Inglewood, so it'll be right up to. And Taranaki are winning games a lot of different ways. Like we didn't even mention last week, they had pretty much every loose forward out injured. They had to play Bradley Slater at open side, and they still did a job on Waikato, who had not long ago beaten Tasman. So yeah, I just think, like we said, last week they kicked 5 or 6 penalties and only scored 2 tries against Waikato, but they can win by throwing the ball around and scoring all over the park like they did against Wellington. So when we saw what happened when Wellington put their foot down against Manawatu, and I'd expect something pretty similar to happen. Taranaki, a much more well-drilled side than Wellington from what I've seen this season. Lack of home field advantage as well for Manawatu. Day game.
Yeah. And Taranaki won 6 straight against them, and by a margin of 17.5 points in each game. So average. So sort of gives you a bit of an idea of how this matchup's been in the last few years, and the fact that Taranaki are playing so good at the moment.
Do we have our promo on the margin this week? Is that running again?
Yes, I believe it's still running on all 5 games, including the non-competition game. NPC bonus back. Are you steaming into the 13 plus?
Yeah, like it seems line up perfectly. You just can't see them losing the match. So hit the 13 plus, and if they, for some reason, get into a tight tussle, you'll still get your money back up to $50.
Yeah, no, it's a perfect sort of game for that. Like we've touched on these games where you're pretty confident on one side, so you get stuck into that, and then you've got the bit of insurance. And anything else you guys want to mention from Inglewood before we move to what I think is the game of the round?
No.
Let's get to it.
Because this is another game where I'm well and truly on the bandwagon. I don't know if it was the red wines or the hospitality app in Hawke's Bay, but yeah, I can't see them losing here. They got Hawke's Bay got the Shield Challenge, 7:05 McLean Park, Waikato coming to town. They're pretty warm favourites, though. The bookies seem to have not made the same mistake they did last week. We've got Hawke's Bay $1.35 head-to-head, 8.5-point favourites now. That's certainly grown a couple of points from where it was earlier in the week. Waikato $3 to chuck the Shield in the trunk and take it back to Hamilton with them. Any of you guys giving Waikato a chance here?
I think the bookies have got it right. It's a good price for both sides. So I don't think I'll be playing this game. I wouldn't talk any Waikato fans out of backing them. I think the price is right. So they're a hope. There's some hope. They're going to have to take a mighty change in fortune to see Hawke's Bay drop off a bit, but they've got it in them. Like you say, they've had a couple of good wins this year. So I don't know if I'd take the plus, but $3 plus. I think you got some hope.
Yeah, I think they hardly sort of embarrassed themselves last week, did they? They really took it to Taranaki, and I mean, as you say, Taranaki had a few injuries and all that, but they were very much in that game, basically for the whole game. So yeah, I think they played some exciting footy and threw the ball around a bit. So I think that they're not. I'm not saying they can't win, but I've already taken on Hawke's Bay in 2 Shield challenges this year, and I Paul Moati 2 carries because of it. So I don't think I'll be making that same mistake again this week.
Yeah, no, that never want to be in Paul Moati's debt. That's one of the more scary places to be in the Southern Hemisphere. I'm very happy to once again be all over Hawke's Bay here. I think, the 8.5 is probably about right, but I could very, very easily see them winning this game 13 plus. Like if the passes stick like they have been the last few weeks. Waikato, I mean, they were good against Tasman and, didn't disgrace themselves against Taranaki last weekend, but they took a big L to Northland not long before that. Like they've been up and down. The losing at home to Canterbury doesn't look so impressive now as it might have a few weeks ago. So yeah, I'll be taking advantage of NPC bonus back here. Hawke's Bay 13 plus $2.30. I think that's a nice wee play, and yeah, a little bit like Waikato are probably more of a live chance than Manawatu certainly are, but yeah, the way Hawke's Bay are playing at the moment, I can't see them giving up the Shield for a decent amount of time. That's for sure. They'd take a really good team, like a fully firing. I mean, Tasman were fully firing. We thought going up there, or maybe in Auckland or a more, and their Canterbury. So yeah. That is a game. Unfortunately, we're not going to. What we did see earlier in the season, but not going to see again in the finals, given the championship premiership split. But the less said about that, the better. So I'll move swiftly along to the final game of the round on Sunday afternoon, where Bay of Plenty off that non-competition game against Tasman. They're hosting Northland at the Tauranga Domain. We're all very keen on Northland as underdogs last week. They're 14.5 here. I don't know if is this a siren going off for you sort of game, Fisky?
No, it's not a false favourite, but yeah, I do lean to the plus here. I'd struggle to back Waikato or Manawatu at the plus, but Northland, yeah, I haven't been that impressed with Bay of Plenty for many weeks now. It's just not their year, and yeah, since they got beaten in cruel circumstances in Napier, they just haven't bounced back. And off the pace against Taranaki, off the pace, particularly in the second half last week. They should win, but I'll give Northland I'll give them a hope to hang in there, try for try. I think it'll be a high score, and they might just sneak in and backdoor cover it, or might be right in it. I think Northland and plus is a play here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty keen on the 14.5 as well. Just also, like you think about relegation, obviously not being a concern for Bay of Plenty now, whereas Northland is still a live chance of getting one of those semi-final spots. So they'll be going pretty, you know, it's a pretty wide back door with 14.5 for Northland. What are you thinking, Richard?
Yeah, has this game been played up in Northland?
Taronga Domain, Bay of Plenty game.
Yeah. No, I think that is the bet. I mean, there'll be plenty of sort of emotion going through this game, I'm sure. But it's always hard to know how it's going to play out. But yeah, but as sort of Fisky alluded to, I was thinking the same. Since they had that sort of field challenge, I thought they were looking quite good before that, and then they sort of probably got lost in extra time, and since then just haven't really quite bounced back. They looked a bit flat against, I mean, it was a non-competition game, but looked a bit flat in that game against Tasman last week. I don't think they were able to sort of score a try. But yeah, I was surprised to see the line that big. I really was. I thought that Northland had probably done enough to justify it being a little bit shorter. But yeah, we'll see. If I'm having a bet, I'll be taking the plus.
Is there that much difference between Bay of Plenty and Otago, the way the two teams are currently playing? Probably, I think there's...
Yeah, a little bit.
Not 10 points, whatever the line swung the last. Like, it wasn't on the score, but it was an 11-point loss, but it wasn't probably on the field. If you play that game 10 times, I don't think Northland lose them by 11, given the swings of play and the relative, control of the game.
Historically, Northland's actually, I think they had they've won 3 of the last 7 games between these two teams. So it's not like it wouldn't be unheard of for them to, pull an upset here. So yeah. Definitely.
And Bay of Plenty probably not as strong as they were a couple of years ago when they had Clayton McMillan and that really good team that got promoted.
Exactly.